Call this meeting to order of the Sedro Woolley Rotary Club, the greatest Rotary Club in the universe. My little ditty for the day talks about truth from the Rotary magazine. Our greatest challenge is not the microbes. Our greatest challenge today is combating the disinformation and underlying distrust of the science that leads to vaccine rejection. So with that, the invocation, Teak.
Thank you, President Rick. Lord, thank you for our meeting and the technology that lets us do it for fun, fellowship, and service. I just want to pray for your protection for our members and families' health, and especially for Rick Teserick and the lost Rotarians and their families. I give you thanks for our service projects, both locally and international. And I would ask for your protection for next month when I'm in Copan, Ruinas, Honduras with IPA and the Rotary Club there. Thank you very much for all the gifts you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Join me in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is David on the line to lead us in a song? David Bricka, are you out there someplace? In space? Who would like to lead us in a song?
How about Jeff? Jeff did the first one this year. What do you think, Jeff? You ready to go and sing another song for us?
Well, since a Rotarian always says yes, I guess I don't really have much option, so I apologize in advance. I know that this is the time of year my dad starts getting itchy about the pitchers and catchers reporting, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So we can go ahead and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" anyway. So take me out to the ball game.
Take me out.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back for it. Root for whatever team shows up this year because of the lockout. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes out. Ball game.
Thank you. Yep. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today? Hearing no response. How about guests of Rotarians? I think Stephen, you have a guest, do you not?
Yes, I do. I invited Paul Wagner. He's a Sedro Woolley resident and a district chief, fire chief out in District 6, outside of City of Burlington.
Okay. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. I guess technically I'm a guest. Chris Rothenbuehler invited me to be your speaker today.
Okay, we will have Chris introducing you and giving your full biography here just very shortly. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I wanted to start out, if I get my phone, I asked if anybody had any contact with the Tesericks, and Sherry sent me an email, if I can, or a text, if I can find it here, about, I had it a few minutes ago. This is what Sherry sent me last night from Sherry Teserick. Rick had open heart surgery to place a left ventricle assist device in his heart yesterday. Essentially, it is squeezing his heart for him. He will be hooked up to electricity or lithium batteries for the rest of his life. If anyone wants to know more, they can research LVAD online. Rick's heart is injured and damaged beyond repair, so this was his only option for survival. Rick is not feeling great right now, but his surgery/cardiology team thinks he's doing amazing. He will remain in ICU at Swedish for this first week, then transferred to the telemetry progressive care floor for another week. Our whole family will be trained on his LVAD care at home. Life will look a little different for Rick, but it's a small price to pay for his life. Rick thanks his Rotary family for all your prayers and support. Sherry. So that's what I have to convey to our members, and please keep Rick in our prayers, in your prayers. The Skagit Rotary auction is coming up Saturday night. Please register. They've got some great stuff on there. If you want to buy it or at least see how they're doing it. Excuse me. So that's coming up Saturday night. I think the actual live event or virtual live event starts at 5:30. And there's going to be song and dance, etc. on there. And you can still get in on the 50/50 and the best alive, I think. Keep those items coming in for our auction on May 6th. As far as I know, we're still dropping them off at the Stiles Lear Law Firm. And so what I'd really like to do is fill up their whole room so they would kick us out. So keep getting those in. I believe Mike Mosier has an announcement.
I do. It's that time of year again. Crystal Ball is coming up. You know, it's going to look this year just like I did last year. We're going to next Thursday do a reading of this year's test, and then it will go live via a Google Doc thing that Ruth is put together. Thank you, Ruth, for taking care of that. And then you'll have from just after the meeting on the 3rd through February 16th to get it filled out. Then we'll do the awarding of the Crystal Ball and the Horse's Ass Trophy when we get back to having live meetings. So look for an email from me next week with all the details, and we'll go from there. So the trophies are printed. We know who won and who lost, and look forward to revealing to all of you. Thank you.
Mike, what's the cost this year?
Free. We're doing it free again this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Tim wanted me to announce that for you, most of you heard this, we're going to have an auction meeting on Wednesday, February 2nd, next Wednesday at 5:30 at the library in Sedro Woolley. You'll be able to participate by Zoom if you wish, and it will be the same login Zoom line as we're using today. So Tim would like to see as many people as can be there, either live or on Zoom next Thursday. So is there any other announcements? Well, with that, I think I will turn it over to Sergeant Pola to do the Sergeant of Arms and Happy Bucks. So, Paula?
Well, we'll just do Happy Bucks today. How about it? Anybody out there feeling especially happy today? Brian, you look so happy. There's a smile. That's better. Anyone else?
I've got 10 Happy Bucks just because it's sunshiny outside, even though it's cold.
Yeah.
So I would just to not have rain coming down on my head is a nice thing.
Daryl, you have something.
Yes, I just thinking about the last couple of years. I appreciate the leadership that we've had in the club. We've been fortunate to have some excellent leaders, including this year, and I'd like to give $5 in their behalf, and particularly thank Rich for keeping us informed about situations and individuals in the club. It's been very helpful and just doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Bill, did you have something?
As you may know, we're in the process of closing the practice, and I have a lot of things here to get rid of, and I just wanted to announce that if I can get rid of some shelving and some file cabinets, I'll be a whole lot happier next time around. If anybody's interested, they're here for the taking.
Can I comment on the file cabinets?
For you, they're free, Martha.
I don't want them, but there's some great YouTube videos out there on how to turn them into smokers. You should be able to give them away to people who want to make smokers out of them.
That seems appropriate.
Yes. Okay. Any other?
I don't see any other hands out there.
Okay. Well, then I guess I think Chris would like me to read the introduction for our speaker today. So here goes. I'd like to introduce, my pleasure to introduce Martha Rose of Abbott's Alley here in Sedro Woolley. Many people still scratch their head when they hear the term high performance applied to housing. Then when they understand what it means, the reaction is often, I can't afford that. Martha would like to share her expertise on how to build new homes that offer unsurpassed comfort and healthy environments without a higher price tag. So with that, I will turn it over to Martha Rose.
Thank you. And I will try to see if I can successfully use screen share.
Okay.
Let's see, just a minute. So now, I don't know if I did it or not.
Yeah, we don't see your screen.
I see what I have to do. I have to I have to then share it like that. And then I have to.
There you go.
How is that?
That looks good.
Oh, good. So just 1 minute. And you can see the full screen and hopefully I know. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So back in 2008, I learned that the Department of Energy had a program they called Building America. And it was more rigorous than any other program that was available at the time as far as energy efficiency. They were encouraging builders to be 30% more efficient than the energy codes. Fast forward to today, and the program has evolved to entice builders to build homes where they generate as much energy as they use. And this scale that you see on the right is like a miles per gallon. And if an existing older home is going to be towards the top of that scale, 150 points or more, typical new home is right around 70. And a net zero home is right at 0. And the ones at Abbott's Alley surprised me because they came in as a negative 13. And what that means is there's a surplus of power left over for charging the electrical vehicle. So high performance homes embody all of these 7 items and actually more than that. But these are the main features. And I don't have to read them. We're going to go through and I'm going to show you some of the ways that my company does this. So why do this? Well, people really like it and people want it once they learn about it. And most builders say to me, well, buyers aren't asking for it, so why should I do it? But the reality is that buyers don't know about it. They don't know that it's an option that's out there. These homes are way healthier, and especially in times of COVID, they really are healthier. They have air changes, and I'll show you that too. My utility bill is $7.97 a month for electricity, and it's an all-electric home. And I charge my electric car. And a lot of people want to do something about climate change, so this is a really wonderful way to do it. So the first step is to think about the big picture. You can't just take a house plan that you buy off the shelf and make it a net zero or high performance home. You really have to start by looking at the location, and you have to design the whole house as a system. And you're going to look at every single aspect of it. And I'm not going to read my slides, so I figure you guys can read. I'm just going to move forward. And I don't mind if somebody has a question, if they turn on their mic and just pipe in and ask it in the moment. Otherwise, you can ask at the end. So this graphic came off of the Department of Energy website, but it shows you visually some of these components. You're beefing up insulation around the perimeter. You're tightening up your walls and ceiling and floors so that you're not bringing in random air. You're using high quality windows. And then you're introducing mechanical ventilation. The mechanical ventilation throughout the whole house is a key component that you cannot forego. Okay, this is an example of an older house that we renovated, and this is a 1920s house, and we built a new roof system and put big overhangs on it. You can see on the longest day of the year how the sun that is hitting those south windows it's blocked by the overhangs. In the middle of winter, the sun will enter those windows fully. So that's one thing you want to think about. Another thing you want to think about is how you place your systems. And I've just taken a snapshot of part of the homes at Abbott's Alley to illustrate how when we were designing these homes, we were thinking about, okay, where's the hot water tank going to go? And we wanted to make sure that the distance from the hot water tank to every single fixture that took hot water would be as short as possible. And on the ground floor, we have 12-foot ceilings. So we put in a ceiling at 8 feet above the downstairs bathrooms, and then used a standard hot water tank sitting on top of that ceiling. So it's right above that bathroom and right below the upstairs bathroom and very close to the kitchen. And you know what surprised me about this choice of hot water tank for this house, these houses, is it's an electric hot water tank that's the highest efficiency standard electric hot water tank, but by today's standards, that's not considered very good because nowadays we have heat pump hot water heaters that are 3 times as efficient as this. But the setting here did not allow for a heat pump hot water heater. And even still, because we addressed every other aspect of energy efficiency, we still came in as a -13 on our energy score, despite the fact that in a home like this, your hot water heat is your biggest energy user because you've almost eliminated the heat, the requirement for space heating. Another consideration is this mechanical ventilation. What you're looking at here is before the actual machine is installed, but this is the distribution, part of the distribution system. And again, it's important to think in planning stage, where is this thing going to go? Where I can easily once in a while, clean the filters, it wants to be in the heated envelope, centrally located so that your duct runs are as short as possible. These white tubes that are coming off of these manifolds are the distribution system. And as the thing says, you have 6 supplies and 6 returns, so that 100% of the time you're expelling stale air and bringing fresh air into the home. Now, part of the insulation components, it starts with the slab and with the foundation. So after we put the foundation in, we use this foam on the exterior of the foundation walls. And that's considered a thermal break. That keeps the cold air from penetrating through the concrete and transferring into the home. Likewise, the 4 inches of foam that are under the slab keep the ground that's between 45 and 50 degrees from telegraphing through to the concrete slab. Now, people often ask me, well, are these heated? I'm like, no, because they don't need to be heated, because they become the ambient temperature of your house. So these slabs will hang out at about 70 degrees, winter and summer. Now, if I had heated the slab, a heated slab is usually 80 degrees. That would prevent the slab from absorbing heat from other places, like, for example, the sun shining in the windows, or the dog lying on the floor, or the cooking, or any other random heat generating activity, the humans that are in there. So I always tell people, you know, they psychologically might like the idea of a heated slab that's 80 degrees, but if you forgo the heat in the slab, you're going to save a boatload of money, and you're going to still end up with a slab that's 70 degrees instead of 45 degrees with this type of insulation underneath of it. So I use real plywood, and underneath my plywood, I use 1 inch of foam. And I started doing this in 2005 with a 1/2 inch of foam, because back in the day when I was a building inspector, the framers used to put on these apartments, they used to put 1/2 inch sheetrock between the plywood and the framing. And so I'm deciding, well, all we have to do is substitute foam for sheetrock. And then in about 2010, a builder in Oregon had it tested, this assembly with 1 inch of foam at Oregon State University. And it was there that they discovered that this wall assembly performs 2.5 times better in an earthquake when the foam is installed under the plywood. So it does, there's so many reasons to do it. It's a thermal break. If you took an infrared camera outside during that cold weather, you would not be able to see the studs on 16-inch centers, because the foam breaks that heat from coming through. It's sound, it's, you know, it's just a vapor barrier. At any rate, that's been our standard since '05. So advanced framing, many of you may have heard the term advanced framing, and there's no one definition of advanced framing. This is how I do it. The foam under the thing, all that insulation under the slab. I use a triple glazed window. I use 2 layers of bats in the ceiling. And then in addition to the foam under the plywood, I use what's called a blown-in bat, which is a netting that's stretched over the studs on the inside, and fiberglass that's blown in so that it covers every nook and cranny. Does a much better job. And it's an R23, plus the foam is R20. The foam is an R5 for an R28 total. Here's some details. Our trusses are tall. Even at the exterior wall, they do not taper down. They're 18 to 20 inches tall, and that allows you to have continuous insulation all the way to the exterior. But before we insulate, you can see how we take great pains to keep the air from coming in. So we're sealing around anywhere we can see daylight coming in. Here's a picture of after insulation, and you can see the blown in bats on the left, the white. You can see the HRV duct on the right. This is my current project. I took this picture because this is what happens when you don't have a good insulation job. This particular house, the water was live when we were going through all that freezing. And so I had a heater on to keep the pipes from bursting, and no insulation. And so the heat was melting the underside of the snow, and it was coming down to the eaves and then refreezing. So whenever you see a building with a bunch of icicles, as charming as it might look, it's really a signal that there's inadequate insulation. Now here's an example of what the heat recovery ventilation machine looks like at finish. You saw the what it looked like with the two manifolds that get hidden behind the wall. This machine has a motor in it, and it has two heat exchange cores. I can't remember if I included a picture of what those look like, but the outgoing air warms up the incoming air. So even though you're bringing in fresh air all winter, all summer, the air is neutral as far as the temperature. We never turn these off. They run all the time on a low speed. That way you don't hear them. You don't hear them coming on and off. And the only time I ever turned it off is if the temperature soars to like 100 and some degrees. Then you might turn it off just for that short period of time when we have those uncomfortable temperatures. But even when it's 90 degrees outside, I leave it running, and it doesn't make it uncomfortable inside, because a well-insulated home like these will stay cool in the summer, even when it's very hot outside. When you insulate like this and air seal, this one ductless mini split head heats 3 stories at Abbott's Alley. So we have 1,760 square feet. And this one head that's located on the bottom floor does the job, except during that period of time when we had those 18-degree days, I turned one infrared heater, which we put those in the bedrooms as the safety blanket, or security blanket, I mean, because people psychologically can't handle the idea that this one head does the whole job, even though it does. So we put infrared cove heaters in the bedroom areas. So there's 3 in the homes at Abbott's Alley. 3 would be typical. One of them I turned on to 60 or 70 degrees and kept it on for about 2 weeks and turned it back off. And other than that, this thing does the job. Here's a picture of what that cove heater looks like above the window. Infrared heats the objects, it doesn't heat the air. And so it tends to make a room more comfortable with a much lower energy consumption than, say, a baseboard heater or a little cadet type heater that blows air around. Another piece of the puzzle is to make sure that every single appliance is Energy Star rated, and to maybe even go farther and pick the ones at the lowest end of the spectrum. So the industry has been working on this for a while, but on the right, you see that that's a heat pump dryer. So this dryer does not vent to the outdoors. It has 2 filters. One has to be cleaned out every time, and the second filter about every 6 or 8 uses, you have to clean it out. But most dryers suck about 350 CFMs out of your house and throw it out to the outdoors. So when you eliminate that situation, you're keeping that heat inside your home and making it more efficient. This is what my electric car charging station looks like. There's different models and stuff, but we always pre-wire. You want to pre-wire for the inevitability of somebody buying an electrical vehicle. This is what the solar equipment looks like. And there are minor differences, but essentially that's what it looks like. And it just does its job. And nowadays the solar installers, once somebody moves into the home and they hook up to the internet, the solar company keeps track of if there's something that happens that goes, like if a system goes down for any reason, and so they can notify you, but also the homeowner can have an app on their phone where they also can pay attention. And I'm not one of those people that wants to do that. I never pay attention. I just look at my electric bill when it shows up, and I see what's going on that way. So low flow faucets are another piece of the puzzle. When you have 0.5 gallons per minute coming out instead of 1.5 or 3.5, you're using less hot water and less electricity. And I know there's been a lot of jokes about, I don't watch TV, but I've heard about them, low flow fixtures and how undesirable they are. But the technology has evolved to the point where most people do not notice the difference. Even a shower head that's 1.5 gallons per minute is completely functional and acceptable. So our arrays are 9.9 kW. That was just under 30 grand. And everybody that, the early buyers got the tax credit and of 30%. And it turns out, you know, it's still about that same price. I mean, it may have gone up just a hair, but to put it in perspective, in 2005, I installed my first solar array. It was 1.5 kW and it was $35,000. So this 9.9 is, you can see it's 4 times the size for less money. So the industry has evolved, and that's why they're weaning us off of these tax credits. And the utility incentive has gone away now because that was to reward the early adopters. And now that the price has come down, it's still worth it to invest in solar. So my premise is when we're building high performance homes, we have to look at all of us getting older and needing assistance at some point. And so I made a decision, well, when I was in my 40s, I was in a wheelchair for a while. I shattered my ankle. So that was a game changer for me. And I decided from now on, and I think we started doing this probably in 2008, every house now has a ground floor wheelchair accessible bathroom. And it's, to me, it's folly not to include that in new home construction everywhere. And I'm not understanding why other builders aren't doing this. Maybe there are some, but I think it's an uncommon practice. But to me, it's part of being a high performance home. So one way we afford to do these things that we do without adding cost is we use the poured floor as the finished floor on the ground, and had some very beautiful results. Sometimes we stain them, sometimes we polish them, but usually they're stained. Another aspect of a high performance home is one that doesn't need a lot of maintenance. So we're doing hardwood flooring and or hard surfaces everywhere. Carpet tends to need more maintenance, and the hardwood or the hard surfaces are also healthier. And we have the front view of Abbott's Alley showing metal, a mixture of metal siding, hardy panel, and a little bit of fir that unfortunately did not hold up. This fir that's stained on the front is all going to be replaced because that was a bad choice on my part. And I don't mind admitting mistakes. I like to share my mistakes as much as my positive things, so won't do that again. I wanted the nice flat surface in case the live work unit people wanted to put a sign up there. It would provide a good backing for the signage, but it didn't hold up. So here's my electric bill, just to, you know, it's never gone over $797. That's for the privilege of hooking into the grid. That has nothing to do with consumption. This Saturday, just a couple days from now, we're doing a behind the walls tour over at 1200 Jameson. And basically we're going to be showing people these things in the live flash. Like before we insulate and drywall, we kind of like to open the doors. We only do this about every 3 years, and maybe never again if I quit building, but that we'll see. But at any rate, any of you that would like to know more about or see it with your own eyes, please do show up, because it is an educational opportunity, and there'll be a few of us there to talk to everybody. And that's the end of my presentation. So how do I get
Does
out
anybody have any questions?
how do I get out of share screen? Do I unshare it?
That's beyond my comprehension.
Okay, so
There's a stop share button. If you move your mouse, you should see a button at the bottom that says stop sharing.
I found one that said pause share. Let's get rid of it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, did anybody have any questions?
What does a typical home like this cost, and how many square feet for living space?
Well, I can only use Abbott's Alley as the comparison. They were 377,500, and they're 1,750 or 60 square feet. So they were selling at the same rate as other market rate housing at the time, even with, that was with the solar on the roof. Now, these two that are under construction right now, I will give you the same response every builder in the area will give you, which is, I have no idea. It's such a mystery right now because the supply chain is broken and lumber was double for a while. Nobody knows what anything will cost. Nobody will give you a bid. It's simply a wild card right now. And until they're done, I would have no idea. And it's a little bit frightening, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to be any more than my competitors, that I know, because we figured out some hacks as far as framing goes. For example, we don't have any solid headers. So we have trade-offs. We have simple design. So in some areas, our costs are less. And then that buys us the ability to pay for the added insulation and the solar on the roof. Yep. Any other questions?
Martha, I got a question about the solar aspect of it all. Is Washington State a good place for, particularly the Pacific Northwest up here, a good place for solar? I mean, I've heard, you know, we've been debating solar for years, and we've got about a 3,000 square foot house, and whether it's worth the investment. We put solar on one of our commercial buildings, and it seems to be working, but.
Well, how could I be at a negative 13 if it doesn't work?
But you're also in a, you know, it's not a 20-year-old house. And,
right. So what I always tell people who are contemplating solar on their existing home is the first step is to do an energy audit and get somebody out there to do a blower door test and show you where your weak links are, and look at places where you can beef up insulation, put in better windows, maybe. In other words, the solar is the icing on the cake. So for existing homeowners, do that energy audit. They're relatively inexpensive, and see where you're losing most of your energy, and then make corrections there first, then put the solar on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would tell you that we put ours in our 30-year-old house about 5 years ago. And our bill, most of the year, 7, 8 months is around the $8 figure. And I think last month it went up to $70 or something. So it's worked in our house, and it's like 4,000 square feet, so.
Right, and Germany was an early adopter of solar energy, and their climate is almost identical to ours. And so I think at least 20% of the energy in Germany is from solar power. Plus the panels are getting more efficient. And there's one more thing, which is, so iTech was the manufacturer up in Bellingham, and the solar panels at Abbott's Alley are from iTech. They were bought out by was it a Canadian company? I can't remember. I think it's a Canadian company, and I forget the name of it. So on my new project where we're having the open house, those are not panels from Bellingham, because my solar installer that's doing those wanted to first test out they like to test every product before they install it for a few years. And they wanted to test those panels under the new ownership, because they wanted to be sure that there wouldn't be a problem. And that, and I think that they told me just a few days ago that they're going to start using them now. So apparently it passed their acid test, and but not in time for me to use them on my project. Yeah.
Any other questions of Martha? Okay, well, thank you, Martha, for a very informative program. And I think you're on the right track there for us. And so I will hand you my
Yeah, thank you for letting me do that.
symbolic rotary pen, and we will try to get you a real one at some point. But again, thank you for joining us today. And also thank you for Paul joining us. And remember, next Tuesday, be there for the kickoff of the crystal ball, and then Wednesday night, an auction meeting, 5:30 at the library or on Zoom. And at this point, we're still going to be zooming around next week. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.